welcome. Good morning, Miss Betty Hall. I know you're at work. We're going to start, I think, in a few more minutes. Mr. Augustine will be starting us off this morning, but I
Good
am glad to be
morning. Good
here.
morning.
All
Good
right.
morning. This is
I'm gonna.
Fola from Pennsylvania.
Hey, Sola.
Hi, how are you? How is everyone?
All right. Good morning, guys. I hope all is well. I'm sorry. I was just trying to get settled where I'm at. I'm actually on the highway, and getting close to one of the destination stops that I'm making. I guess I would call it as part of my East Coast tour. I'm going to be connecting with some of the folks there in North Carolina and Mr. Taylor in Tennessee and Virginia as we go visit schools the next couple of days. But I'm always thankful to be here. I haven't had a chance to be on the calls because I've been in a couple schools over the last couple of days. But I did want to share. I actually texted Mr. Samad this morning with the intent. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to start reading the book called Infinite Game. If you have, that's great. If you haven't, I'm going to highly recommend. I've been a little bit off my reading game because I've been trying to manage a couple of things here personally, but I always tell people whenever I get back into that rhythm, it's one of my appetite wheels. I wanted to share with you guys something that I picked up today that really kind of touched my thought process that I believe will be a blessing to you guys. If you don't see a team member on the call, go ahead and let them know the call is started. But I'm going to start with this precious 11 or 10 folks that we have here because your mind is here this morning. So I'm grateful. I'm going to try and share my screen. I had a quick moment to chat GPD this to kind of, not go too far when it comes to some of the notes. Just let me know. I think I see Miss Betty there. Do you see my screen there, Miss Betty, at all? If you could just
Yes,
unclick and
I
let me
see.
know. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I've been reading this book now or listening to the book. And one of the things that I listened to early this morning as I was driving down, it might have been like around 5 a.m. And it really kind of got my attention. Um, and the book Infinite Game is by a gentleman by the name of Sinek, and it really kind of confirms that sometimes, depending on how companies or even individuals look at certain things, you may end up having two different perspectives. What's interesting about OIC's perspective is more of a infinite game mindset, and the difference between the two is that um, in some family orientations, people look at things for the next 10, 15, even the next 100 years, basically, meaning that one of the things that touched my perspective is that, hey, understanding that some companies are only built to say, hey, I'm going to grow as quickly as possible with the intent that I'm going to sell. And when you end up selling an organization or a company, what really basically happens is that some people win, maybe the top few, and a lot of people might end up either getting lost or will just lose because essentially when a company gets sold, it's really the individuals at the very top tier that position themselves to get the win that they were looking for financially. And I've seen this over and over and again. I've personally done it in business where, hey, I might have gotten something and I knew had it for a period of time and I'm going to sell it for a profit. It doesn't mean that I had a negative intention, but I realized that if you're really building for legacy and more long term, you might want to understand what an infinite mindset is. And I believe OIC has it. And one of the reasons why it touched me is because generally the person who's thinking infinitely is not just thinking about themselves. They're thinking about, hey, a Betty Hall. They're thinking about a Princess Map. They're thinking about the people that are not only going to come today, but are going to be coming 10, 15, 20 years from now, maybe where you as a leader could be technically retired from the business, or maybe you have aged and things are very different. I'm very honest in telling with people I'm about 50. I do believe that I have a longer life cycle, but somewhere around 70 years old, I may not be always on a wake up and win, not because I'm being rude, but maybe there's a company that I've built. Maybe there's an opportunity that I've built. But if I build it right, is the difference, though, as to whether or not at 70 I'll be able to take that particular pause. And what that basically means is that if you begin to understand what an infinite mindset is, you're not just going to be building an agency for the idea that it's you alone. You're going to be building a mindset that's driven that, hey, as I build this agency, I'm not only thinking about how I can organize it well, but I'm also thinking about how well it should be organized so that when the new agent or the new field director or the new business director or the new equity partner comes on board, there's a framework that they already have in place so that the agency can last as long as possible, especially if you plan for it. And one of the sections that I just wanted to kind of give you guys an overview, but one of the sections that I really got touched by this morning was the difference between performance and trust. And we've seen that, which means that sometimes people will come on board and they might have a great flash of success, but is it somebody that you consider that is trustworthy and that has the team in mind? And sometimes there was even an example in this book that basically said that, hey, sometimes when it comes to military personnel, some of the highest ranking military personnel, they'll take somebody that has medium performance, but has a high trustworthy scenario. Because sometimes some people fall in some categories where they're only thinking about their success. And it says in the notes that this shared, it says in many financial service organizations, performance becomes the loudest metric. Policies written, premium place, or annuitized dollars, or recruiting numbers, or people being ranked advanced. But performance answers one question: can this person actually produce? The difference between that is says, hey, trust answers a much deeper one. Can I actually rely on this person? And when you do, you must realize that whoever is doing that trustworthy activity, there probably is a cost that they're paying. What that means is that even for me as I speak, I don't like to speak about myself, but I'm driving down to these spaces with the intent that I'm building something that by the time Jalen, my son, runs this business, or if it's my son Justin who runs this business, or if my granddaughter Brooklyn was one of the individuals that in my family that came over to manage my agency, I built it in a way, or I built a business in a way that allows me to know that I have trusted individuals that will keep the promise of how the new person comes on board so that they can get success. And one of the reasons why that's very powerful is because here at OIC, guys, if you haven't read this book, you'll find that we have plenty of those type of business partners who sometimes think about you first before they even think about their ability to earn a paycheck, their ability to sacrifice to kind of position the business in the most healthiest way. And one of the reasons why you guys want to realize that that is extremely important is because the person who decides to do that version of sacrifice or that version of service is generally someone who's thinking about the long-term picture. And the long-term picture is somebody who now understands that, yeah, there is somebody coming after the next. There is a new associate that's going to come on board a year from now that needs the promise that there's enough leaders here on board to position the business for the long term. And the reason why I want you guys to recognize is that because sometimes we can get caught up in just the numbers, and I can personally do it too. I'm not saying I'm excluded, but it reminded me like, hey, well, what are we really building this for? And I asked myself that question, and I propose that you guys ask yourself that question too. Well, I said, well, listen, I'm building this business because I want to be able to position myself for freedom. You know what's interesting? Whenever you're doing something and you have plenty of things to do, the phone goes crazy, cars are going crazy, but I still proceed. I feel like I hear every truck and every phone ringing at the same time in my world here. But I want to encourage you guys this morning that you guys actually have some trusted individuals. This was the example. It says, hey, the Navy SEALs principle sometimes is big on medium performance, meaning that even if they had somebody who was the most accurate, the most strength driven, the most deadliest person that they can send as a weapon of warfare, they're like, well, can I really trust this person? Because what was interesting about the example is that the person that may not be trusted is somebody that just might be thinking about themselves. And it's okay if you're that person now. I'm not saying, but maybe you might want to recognize that you want to look at how well. I asked myself the question, well, how well can some of my team members trust me? And how well can they count on me so that if Hans is saying he's a leader or you're saying you're a leader, how well can your team trust you? How well can some of the new business partners have the expectation that if you say something, see, I'm driving down right now because I said I was going to come down to your area. So I got to keep my promise. Whether it results in the best thing since sliced bread or it's different from my expectation, but keeping my promises basically allows me to understand and tell the team or tell the organization or tell the individuals that I might be responsible for that, yes, you can count on me. And one of the reasons why I was very intrigued by that conversation this morning is because reading for me is something very powerful. I do it every morning when it comes to sometimes when I'm talking about biblically. I realize that over the last several weeks between being busy, I haven't had a chance to really caught up. So over the last week or so, I've been listening to this book. And the other reason why I want to recommend it, guys, is because sometimes when you're listening to good information, I mean, this has been juicy, solid information. It gives you the courage that you're looking for. It kind of positions your mind to think a little bit deeper, to reevaluate. And I don't really want to take up a lot of time this morning, but I was kind of enthusiastic enough to say, let me pull over this morning and not just be the listener, but be a great leader by sharing with others that, hey, if you haven't picked up this particular book, grab it because the information that it's sharing is just teaching you that, listen, if you look around our infinite company, if you look at around some of the leaders that you guys have access to, they're building this for the long term. They're positioning your business so that when you mature from associate to field director, or when you go from training associate to field director, and even when you finally get to business director, it doesn't mean we know everything. It just means that we still may have just hit one of the milestones, but we still got to qualify ourselves daily to position yourself. So even for me, I got to keep myself accountable that can my team trust me? Can the people that I bring on board trust? Now, I should have expectations of them too, so that they can get the best out of the situation. But as a leader or somebody who's building a business, now I'm speaking to all the people this morning that says, hey, I came here to build a business, or as we learned yesterday in our coaching call, maybe you're not ready to build a business, and it's okay for you to take time and learn how to be a great, successful producer. But maybe you do have a vision of building a business and you want to know how, and you want to know what the possibilities are. Maybe you have questions. Maybe there's a little nervousness or fear that you have. It's okay. But what you guys want to be excited about is that there's plenty of people currently at this moment that really want to position themselves as somebody that becomes the leader in their local field. I'm sorry, the phone went off because somebody was reaching me. But I'm going to make sure that I kind of close and maybe take that as a cue. But just know that there's many people here on your side positioning this business towards the idea. And I'll just close it with this. If you think about how deep it's been for a Brad Pham, that since he's 18, I don't know what his current age is old, he's put a solid 30 years into this business. So it's not somebody that you can identify that just kind of says, I gave up. Or when we talk about a Mary Grace and she says she's put 28 years into this business, you guys got some solid folks around you. Or if you look at our current leadership, these are people striving every day to figure out how they can help you grow your business. So if you haven't grabbed that book, I highly recommend it. I just really tell people that I think we've been positioning our mindset. I've been positioning my mindset because it's a growing activity. It's a thing that you guys really want to get invested in and really understand that as you grow your business, there's challenges that are going to come. There's some moments where you feel discouraged, or or there might be some great moments where you're really excited. But learning how to leverage the information, these monthly books that we have, it gave me a lot of joy to say, okay, you know what? This is some way that you got to think, or this is how you're going to position, or how you're going to next move. But if you don't feel qualified as the trust person this morning, like maybe I said, maybe there's some things that they can trust me with, but maybe there's some things that they don't trust me with. And how do I qualify myself as a trusted leader and that has a longer term position? So I hope this has been good for you guys. I wanted to pull over and take a moment. I'll share a quick win and pass over the call. Yesterday for me, it was a great day to be able to position myself to kind of get into some of these spaces. And I think one of the reasons why I trust is that I had an application close yesterday, a rollover, but it was all about trust with this person. I think that's why the book touched me this morning, because the person said, hey, Hans, I know I want to know that I can trust you, and I want to know that I can count on you, because this is a lot of money that I've saved. And I said, I understand. Take your time. Let's go through the paperwork. Hey, by the time I call you this afternoon, we don't have to hit the submit button. Why don't I just take the information? And then once you're confirmed, I'll call you tonight at 6 o'clock. And we did the next move, and there's other steps that need to happen. But I realized that in these spaces with our clients, we have to build like a level of professionalism where, yeah, I'm okay with you moving my money. I'm okay with you putting this solution in place. I'm okay with you taking my social security number and my date of birth. And those are things that we not only got to express to our business partners, but we got to be able to express it to our clients. So I'm going to pass off the call back to our leader, Miss Princess Map, or Mr. Samad that might be on the call. I just wanted to wake up and win with you guys and mastermind a little bit as I drive, and kind of share some of the thoughts that I've been reading from the book this morning.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Hans. Let's give Hans some love in the chat, you guys. I appreciate you, sir, for taking the time out, right, to give us a dissertation of the book of the month. And I love the fact that you led with that and you opened with that, because here's the thing, you guys. You know, he talked about, let's talk about context first, and then we'll talk about content. Matter of fact, let's talk about content first, and then we'll talk about context. The content. He talked about the infinite game. This book is basically one of Simon Sinek's best pieces of work. He's also the author of Start With Why. Simon Sinek is on a mission to recreate the narrative of what we interpret as the American dream. Okay. And he's talking about how these zero-sum games, right, have become the main narrative. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants to be the winner, at the cost of somebody losing and at the cost of somebody not being the best. But when you look at these conglomerate companies like a Jeff Bezos, if you look at Amazon in their model, if you look at Apple in their model, they weren't competing with their predecessors, and they weren't competing with the said competition. They were basically creating a model that continued to build new innovative ideas and platform new and innovative ideas to continue the growth of this unlimited tree, called Apple, this unlimited tree called Amazon. And it wasn't about a finish line. Okay? It wasn't about producing a finish line. See, when there's and this is why I always say, excellence is better than perfection. Why is excellence better than perfection? Because excellence leaves room for improvement. Perfection has a finish line. Okay? If I'm striving for excellence, let's say, Monica, you and I, we're wedding planners, and we throw this amazing wedding party for somebody who contracted with us. See, excellence says, that was amazing. Now let's go back to the drawing board and see what we could have done better. No matter how amazing it actually was. So we're talking about an infinite game. So this book is absolutely phenomenal. And then bringing it back to what Hans was talking about in regards to OIC. You guys, most of these LOA models, okay, If you don't know what LOA means, okay, go ahead and look it up. But it's life only agency. Um, it really means that you're an independent agent and you can only contract here with our Infinite Company as an independent agent. You can't contract here as a company. You can't contract here as a business owner. Okay. Our Infinite Company is the IMO. They're the LOA. We are brokered through them. But here's the caveat with our Infinite Company. And I'm so happy you talked about this morning. And I'm so happy Brad talked about this yesterday on the field director and up call. He talked about how most LOA models, you guys, own your book of business. And this is why most people stay away from LOA models, especially seasoned guys that just been around forever and they just don't have nothing else to do but study this industry and talk to other people in the industry about what they don't like about the industry, right? A lot of your three-way calls from LinkedIn are going to go that way. Betty Hall and I believe it was Betty Hall and I, or maybe it was Fola and I, we did a three-way just recently with a gentleman out of Arizona, 9-10 years in the business. And he cut me off in the middle of the three-way call. He was like, "You guys are a LOA model, bro. I'm gonna just tell you right now, man. You know, I've been around. How long have you been doing this, man? You know, because I've been around for like 9-10 years, man. And I'm gonna tell you, man, those LOA models, you're not gonna be able to own your book of business. You know, what these LOA models do, you know, is they just basically build up volume, bro, and they sell to the highest bidder, a company like Integrity or things of the nature. This is exactly what Hans Augustine was just talking about.
Yes.
This is why this industry, you remember that three-way call, Fola?
Yes.
Right? Okay. But this is why this industry sucks. This is why this industry has been so difficult to thrive in with longevity, because it is so easy for the CEOs and owners of these companies to take your entire book of business, create a net worth value, and then sell it for multi-millions of dollars. This is why you have to come to events. How many of you guys were at the first Dallas Infinite tour, right? Where we came together. I believe it was Kim and Hans and you guys were there. And what's amazing about that is I believe out of all the people that were there, Princess was there. It was just us three. All the people who were there are no longer around. This is amazing. Anyway, okay. Brad Pham, your CEO, said from the stage that I was offered multi-million-dollar check to sell our Infinite Company. And he said, no. Do you want to know who referred this book to me? Brad Pham and Mary Grace Anasco. The connection that I'm trying to make here is we have a blessing here at OIC and a CEO at OIC that's saying, listen, we are truly the people's company. OIC does not belong to me, Brad Pham. It belongs to me in name, but this is your company. And every year he goes out of his way to continue to try to prove that to us so that we can perform like the company belongs to us. So one of the things that I want you guys to write down right now, if you got a pen and paper, write this down. I want you guys to write OIC, comma, belongs to me. I want you guys to write that real quick. You guys want to know how Suni Samad hit business director in 6 months? Ownership. Ownership. I took complete ownership. I was like, this is my company. To the capacity that I wanted to be my company. And I made the shift mentally from just being an agent to being somebody who said, hey, I have an opportunity to have ownership here. Where else in the world am I going to get this kind of seat at the table? I want you guys to ask yourselves that right now, real quick. Just ask yourselves real quick. Where else in the world is somebody offering me ownership in a multi-billion-dollar company. Don't worry, I'll wait. And when you take on that perspective and it really, you let it go from here to here, you show up a lot different. You move a lot different. If you look at Hans Augustine, he's saying, listen, I'm headed from New Jersey to North Carolina to meet a young lady I've never met face to face in my life by the name of Coco Francis, who just moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because she has a desire to go into schools. And as an owner, a business owner, he's saying, I'm going to take the trip, meet this young lady, hold her by the hand, and take her into these schools. Because it is not about me. It's about the legacy that I'm creating from a standpoint of ownership. Then he's on his way to Tennessee after that to take a gentleman by the name of Stephen Taylor, okay, who has been written off by most people, you know what I'm saying, based on his age. Let's be real. And Hans is saying, from there, I'm going to drive down into Tennessee and I'm going to grab Mr. Taylor by the hand. And I'm going to walk him into some schools based on a level and a capacity of ownership, okay, and keeping my promise. So we're talking about equity and legacy, correct? Right now? Is that kind of what we're talking about? Legacy and equity is premised and based on being a promise keeper. Miss Monica, if you built this $3 million, $4 billion fortune for your family, and you say, hey kid, hey grandkids, I'm building this for you, what good is it you building it if you don't keep the promise to pass it down to them? It's all built on a promise. And the power of a promise, you guys, is completely undervalued, not just in our business, but in this world. Because if we look at where we live now and call this universe, okay, first there was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was good. We are living in a promise called God's Word. So much so that you guys wake up with no worries that the sun is going to come up. God has been keeping that promise for so long, we don't even worry about it. What if one day the sun didn't come up? You would say, oh my God, what is going on? What if one day the earth just stops spinning? What if one day it just stayed night forever? You'd be like, man, it's 3 days. It's going on 3 days. It's 72 hours. It's still nighttime. What is God up to? You know why we don't freak out that way? Because God has been keeping a promise for centuries that allows you and I peace of mind. God is saying, I already did my part. I'm more invested in you than you could ever be invested in yourself. Don't wait on me. I'm waiting on you. Hello. Right? So back to this equity partner. LOA models usually sell. Brad fam. The equity is this is equity in a real company. What most IMOs are going to sell you, you guys, is a version of equity that's based on your own book of business. Why? Because they know and understand. Please watch this. Please pay attention to this. Let it just seep in just a little bit, because later as you move into your business, you're going to start connecting these dots and you're going to realize how special your position here is in our infinite company. Most of these LOA models, they say, you know what, Monica, you know what, Gabriella, if you stick around and you become an equity partner with us, we're going to give you something called a legacy program. And in that legacy program, we're just going to give you ownership of your own book of business. Because guess what? That belongs to us. In case you didn't know, all right? That belongs to us. So we're going to gift you your own hard work. It's no different than what the record labels have been doing to artists for years. How many of you guys been around music or the music industry, right? It's a big deal when an artist can buy back the rights to their own music, right? LL Cool J bought back all of his, what they call, I forgot the name of it, okay? But he bought all the rights to his music.
Masters.
Masters. Thank you, Mr. Ridley. Somebody help me, right? Masters. Why do they call them masters? By the way, just a clue. Here's the thing, all right? Michael Jackson died fighting for the rights, the masters of ownership to his book of business. How valuable do you think that is? Prince changed his name. He said, listen, if you do not want to give me back my book of business, I'm going to change my name so that you won't be able to capitalize on my name. It's no longer Prince. So if you sell what I built, it won't have the value in it that I gave to it initially. Is this following? Y'all following me real quick? Like, is this making sense? Okay, good stuff. So,
yes, sir.
In our infinite company, Brad Fam says, listen, you build it, it's yours. You can say today, he literally said this on a call yesterday. He said, if you decide that you don't like Brad Fam tomorrow and you decide to walk away from OIC, you can take your book of business with you. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Kim, Hans, give me an amen. You guys were there. Did he say that? Yes or yes?
Amen.
Amen. He said that. Okay? This is from the horse's mouth. This is what makes it so unique to be here. You guys got to understand that your CEO is a unicorn in the industry. He's a unicorn. This is why you can't just settle for being an agent, a sales agent here. I refuse to let you do that to yourself here. Because this is literally the opportunity of a lifetime. Let's take it out of the context of life insurance. Let's say we all were music artists and OIC was the label. OIC is saying, listen, if you make a hit record here, you own all the rights to your own music. What? What? Where they do that at? In the music industry. You mean I own everything I create here from the gate? Absolutely. On top of that, oh my God, if you stay here long enough and you produce so much, I'm going to give you equity in the company. You get to own a piece of MCA Records. You get to own a piece of Def Jam Records. You get to own a piece of Interscope Records. Not just on what you create, but every artist that creates something when they come here, you have an ownership stake in that too. Not just in your book of business, but true equity in the company. Oh my God. This is why we show up early, wake up early, and stay up late for this. This is why can't nobody tell me, I should be doing something else other than being in these meetings and cultivating myself as a phenomenal leader on this platform to build a legacy of a lifetime for me and my children's children's children. I prayed for this. And you prayed for this. Here's another piece of evidence. This is why you got to show up. This is why everywhere Brad is, you got to be. Okay? And I'm going to talk about qualifying for Trailblazer here in just a second. An opportunity to personally spend a day with Brad Fam. So that way you don't got to hear from Sunni Samaj, you can hear from him personally. On the 100K ring, and which princess I have not got yet, because I know you're going to ask, I have not received it yet. It's still in transition, and I'm being very patient. But engraved in the 100K ring, okay, it says, welcome to Chancellor's Club. Who is Chancellor? Chancellor is Brad Fam's one and only biological son. And on stage, from the stage, he said, we created the ring with my son's name engraved in it because I wanted to prove to you guys, the field, that I plan on never selling this company. Because to sell the company would be to pull the carpet from under your feet. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what he said. I've already made all the money I need to make. There's only so many steak dinners that I can buy. That's what he said. I said, wow, I finally met a group of people who have a brand or an understanding on what success truly looks like, and it's in the legacy of the people rather than the dollar amount in their bank account. I've been looking for this, y'all, for a long time. For a long time. All right, so now let's talk about context. Okay, let's talk about why we should be reading the book of the month. Write this down, you guys. Okay, rich people buy time. Please write this down. If you have not wrote this down before yet, please write this down. Those of you who can take notes. Poor people buy stuff. Rich people buy time. Poor people buy stuff. Ambitious people buy skills. Lazy people buy distractions. I just want to elaborate on that first one real quick. If rich people buy time, how do rich people buy time? Well, one is very obvious because we teach people how to do the same thing that wealthy people do. We teach people how to put their money to work. Is that not what we do as life insurance agents? We teach people how to go take a piece of their income, create a working capital, okay, that brings back a rate of return, and we teach them that their money can make more money for them than they can ever make for themselves trading it for time. Yes? Is that what we do? Okay. But what is the other most significant but undervalued way that rich people buy time? They buy books. Oh my God. They buy books. Miss Betty, if you started a chef company, let's say if you were a chef, a master chef, you went to culinary art school and you created a conglomerate of 10-star diamond restaurants all over the world. And me, Suni Samad, I'm inspiring to be a chef. If I buy your book, am I not buying time? Yes, I get to leverage your experience and cut my time, my learning curve in half. See, somebody a long time ago started writing stuff down. And somebody said, oh my God, it's such a good idea because I don't got to figure this thing out from scratch. In fact, Napoleon Hill, when he wrote Think and Grow Rich and he was studying Carnegie, Carnegie was the guy who created the idea of free libraries all over the country. Mr. Dale Carnegie, one of the richest men in the world, said, I don't want to give you money. I want to give you the source of how to create the money and make it free. All over America, you can walk into a library for absolutely free. Jim Rohn says it best. He says, you want to study, you want to be happy, study happiness. You want to be at peace, study peace. It's not hard. It's simple. Somebody wrote the book on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. But wealthy people also say if you want to hide something from poor people, put it in a book. Readers are leaders. You gotta read the book. Imagine being 75 and broke 85 and broke. And the grandkids are saying, Grandpa, Granddad, Grandma, you're so smart. How did you end up 85 and broke? How do you explain not reading the books? How do you explain that? Now they got audiobooks, they got books, they got books that write themselves in front of you. They got all kind of stuff. You could literally type in something in ChatGPT right now, and it'll reference every book ever written on what you want to know. I do it all the time. I say, ChatGPT, I'm preparing a presentation and I had a really good idea. Give me every book that references this idea. ChatGPT says, oh my God, Suni, that's a really good idea. That's how ChatGPT talks to me. And they give me all the books and I write them down. Okay, watch this. Watch this. I'm excited. I'm sorry, but watch this. You guys see my background? You guys see my background? I left another 4 or 5 shelves in California in storage. What I'm going to give my children is an inheritance of books. One of the greatest things you can ever give your children is the information so that they can be in formation to a desirable destination. You gotta read the books. Somebody says, well, I went through 14 years of college. I'm tired of reading books. I get it. I get it. Trust me. But when you start to read books tailored to your own desired destination, it's a little different. It's a little different. Okay. I'm going to create this illustration and I'm going to wrap this up. But this is the perfect segue into tomorrow's Wake Up and Win, where I promised Miss Princess that I would do a presentation on financial literacy as a business model because it talks about education and the power of financial literacy. The only reason 97% of the population has been ostracized from the money that the 3% enjoy is information. Somebody says, well, if you take all the wealth in the world, right, and you spread it out all over the world evenly, it'll end right back up in the hands and the bank accounts and the pockets of the 3%. Why? Because the 97% lack the information. Jim Rohn says somebody gives you $1 million, it's best you become a millionaire right away so you get to keep the money. Because if you don't become a millionaire, somebody who is a qualified custodian of the money, you don't get to keep it. How many of y'all know people who have had money and all of a sudden they're broke and worse off? I know several that call rappers from Oakland. Yes, I know just about every last one of them. And because they didn't understand what to do with a dollar, they're still banking on a reputation they created from the past to do shows for $500 at a club or $5,000 if they may still be relevant. This is why I don't teach my kids. I keep my rap career completely out of purview of my kids. Because God didn't create no rapper. I didn't create no damn rapper. There's so much you can be other than a rapper. That brand of success is killing people that look like me, by the way, which is why I don't promote it. I don't care how good I was at it. The books. So watch this. My mentor, okay, James Tolliver. told me a long time ago. He said, Sunni, you're not broke because of what's in your bank account. You're broke because you're disconnected from your inability to think for yourself. Being broke is not a bank account or financial status. It is a psychological disposition. Please write that down. Being broke is not a financial status. It is a psychological disposition. How, Sunni? How is being broke a psychological disposition? We've been disconnected from our ability to think for ourselves in a way that serves our objectives. Not even our fault. Okay? Started in kindergarten. I'm going to break that down tomorrow. Kindergarten literally means kind of a garden. School psychologists early on understood that at 5 years old, Gabriella, is the most ripe time in a child's mind. The soil is most fertile between the ages 4 and 5. And if you bring your kids to me, I'm going to sprinkle seeds in that fertile soil and call it kindergarten. It's a kind of a garden that I get to sprinkle these seeds in and shape their perceptions of the world forever. So the reason we show up broke in our 20s and 30s trying to figure it out is not because of what's in our bank accounts. It is a psychological disposition. Hans, we're going to start this podcast. All right, so, because we need to talk to way more people, right? So here's the thing. JT said this. He said, Sunni, you showed up broke. And this is your brain. Okay? He said, Sunni, did you use your best thinking or your worst thinking to get here? I said, I use my best thinking. He said, no. If you use your best thinking, you would not. He said, your worst thinking. He said, no, you used your best thinking. You used all you had. You showed up broke using your best thinking. He said, your thinking is broken. That's why you are broke. He said, so this barrel represents your brain and it's full of water, substance, content, okay? But this is toxic water, okay? It's got you developing some pretty bad habits, bad coping mechanisms, and things of that nature. He says, Sunni, how are we going to fix this? This is a 2-ton tank called your brain. We can't flip it over. We can't poke holes in it. We can't pour it out. How do we get the toxic water out of here? He says, you borrow some thinking from somebody else over here who has everything you want in their brain, in their set of circumstances. This water is pure, clean. This person has great habits. This person is doing some amazing things in their life. And you allow them to pour into you so much that the toxic water starts to leave, okay? And all you have left now is also a tank of pure water called your brain. This is the books. The books. The meetings. The big events. You continue to allow that to flood your brain in a way where now you are learning to connect with your own ability to think for yourself. And you are now rewiring your software in a way that is conducive to the life you want to live and your objectives. Does that make sense to anybody?
Awesome
Good
analogy,
stuff.
sir.
Good
Got it.
stuff. Yes.
Awesome.
Good.
Yes.
I'm going to open this up, but listen, after that, if you don't get the book, because I'm not going to convince y'all to get a book. Y'all way too old for that. Like, seriously. I say what the book of the month is. I expect everybody to just buy it. I do. I'm flabbergasted at people who don't spend $15, a $15 investment on their brain, the most precious thing that God created. God is depending on you to take care of this so that he can work through you. This is why I don't drink. This is why I don't smoke. I will never give God a temple that's toxic. Hello, believers. So, with that said, I just expect people to get the book. It's $15 so that we can move together, right? And then move more people. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? Leaders, anybody, floor is yours.
I'll just add one more thing, guys. I think, like I said, I'm one of those people that now in the last 2 years have just in the morning. It's biblical for me in my mind. Throughout the day, I'm trying to listen to little pieces of the puzzle because we're trying to get somewhere. And so, um, the only thing I can always constantly tell everybody is that God is always reminding me, like, I'm your guy's warning signal. And I honestly say it, sometimes afraid to say it, but I'm telling you guys, I've been through a set of experiences that I don't want anybody to have to experience. And if you could just grasp the environment that you're in, but I want to be fair in saying it's not going to be like this forever. Not because you did something wrong, because time is important. I told somebody this morning, I think I shared it this morning. I said, I'm not rushing, but I'm always moving forward. Sometimes I'll take a pause to breathe, but I have to because it's not promised. So leverage the opportunity, which is OIC. I believe if you're here, there is a reason that this has come across your path, but you have to invest in yourself. So, but other than that, I want to pass it off to some of the leaders because I just think this is a very powerful call for you guys. Because even what we shared today was in sync with God shared yesterday. And if you can get to this coaching call, I always tell people I feel like I have a one-on-one time with the CEO every time I am in one of those spaces where I have questions in the call. And Mr. Samad said something earlier, like my old business mind is now being washed away from being the guy who's highly self-employed to somebody who can build an expansive business because I'm in the room with people that have accomplished that. And that's why I want you guys to be excited that you're talking to other people and other leaders that are getting exposed to information that will truly change your life. But let me pass it off to other leaders that might want to share.
Thank you, Hans Augustine. Anybody else?
Good morning, Miss Princess.
Good morning, Miss Princess. Matt. Thank
Yes.
you for opening up the call in tremendous fashion this morning. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. No problem. No, I think this was so relevant. I mean, I know all of us got our wheels spinning as leaders on this call, and we really are excited with where we're at. But just to bring it back home to our future of where we're at, and why we are here. I think a lot of us, of course, put our families first, and we're building something. And I love the opportunity. To me, you wouldn't find this in 100 years, really. I mean, the fact that God chose me, I can speak for everybody, but I feel he chose me to be here to set up my family's future. And he gave me grace for what I tried in the past that didn't work. So I'm sold out, to make the best of it. And that means showing up. and learning the tools that are put in our hand. I know when I first came, I was like, what is this call? How do I get how many points I need? How many people I need to get on this call with the CEO? And he gonna tell me how to become the millionaire that I'm trying to be? I mean, that I was just blown away. And then I was kind of mad because all the numbers I was hitting, that wasn't for the call. I still was trying to get the call. I hit promotion, but I was like, I need to be in the room with him. And I never forget that because, for growing up, back in the day, the different things I wanted to know, like in the Bay, I'm like, where they get these t-shirts from? Where they selling get these clothes from? Nobody wants to tell you nothing on how to become better and get ahead. So the fact that not only is Brad Fam showing us, not only do we have a culture of leaders across the board that is saying, hey, yeah, what do you need? I mean, it's such a not just love insurance; it's a love business that we've signed up for, and I hope everyone realize we are truly blessed, not by accident, not by chance, not by mistake. You have been chosen to be here. Why? Because it's going to be a ripple effect. If he can get to you and bless you, apparently he can trust what he put in your hands to get to the people. That's how I look at it. Like there are multitudes of people that we all can connect with. So let's it's kind of like I do my part in the garden. That's how I feel like I'm doing my part, cultivating my garden. That is my audience, and we all have that. And you have an influence on others, those that you know that are arm reach, that are going to see you and encounter you. That's why he chose you to continue whatever Brad said in the closet to God. And God said, I trust you, Brad. This is what I'm going to do for you. So I thank you for sharing that and just reminding us on a regular basis, we're at the right place at the right time.
Absolutely, man.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Listen, you guys, I just don't know. I just don't know anywhere else like where we are. I don't know anywhere else like we are. It's 11:01. We got time for one more person.
Mr.
Any
Samad, I'd like to say something.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ridley.
Hey, listen, I'm the second oldest on the Supreme team behind Mr. Young, Stephen Taylor in Tennessee. But I just want to say, guys, I know that a lot of us, like Mr. Samad and I, we talk a lot now because I see him a lot. But I've had all kinds of levels of success, and failure, and like he says, my best thinking has still got me here. I can remember 20 something years, 20 something years old in Saudi. I ran into some Saudi princes. They were trying to get me out of the Air Force. They were like, get out of the Air Force and come over here and we'll set you up. And I was like, man, I can't get out of the Air Force just like that. So I think back on times like that, opportunities like that. Where would I be now if I'd have done that? But that I'm here now and God's given me, for me, my last chance. I really believe that, to get this all right for my whole life, all the things that he gave me that I did not do. So I'm taking this very seriously, and dug in, not going anywhere, going to get drug out. But just want to tell you guys, man, I love each and every one of you guys. I learn from you guys, and you push me up days that I'm not doing well. But this is the place to be, man. I mean, I can't think of anybody else that has poured into me like this. I can't, and I'm just
Amen,
being
George
honest.
Ridley. Amen, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Taylor. I know you understand. We've been there.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, gentlemen and ladies, I appreciate you all. This was what I like to call a God call, because, like I said, I had a whole presentation prepared this morning, but God saw otherwise. Hans Augustine called me, and I was actually coming out of a very deep prayer session. And when he texted me, I was just like, sure, open up the call. And one thing kind of led to another. And you guys, this is a mastermind. Let me give this disclaimer. We're not going to always talk about life insurance on this call. Okay. I just want y'all to know that. All right. There's plenty of calls out there where you can go learn life insurance And we will talk life insurance on here sometimes, but sometimes this is a mastermind, meaning that we are going to develop one another and become a collective mindset that we can take out into life and into the field and be conquerors, right? And be the kings and queens that God created us to be. All right. So I just want to say that. One last person want to speak before we wrap this up? All righty. Well, I appreciate everybody, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, $1 Million Baby Call, and we have our pod meeting, our team pod meeting tonight, you guys. All right, so don't forget our team pod meeting. Okay, it starts at 7. All right, CST, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard. All right, 6 o'clock Eastern, and then we roll right into the $1 Million Baby after that. So get all your $1 Million Baby clients on the line today and say, hey, it's an amazing call. You got to be there, and give them the link to that call tonight.
8
All right,
o'clock
guys.
Eastern. 8 o'clock Eastern, brother.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Eastern for the pod meeting.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then, yeah, and then
You
it's
should-
going to be 9:30 Eastern for the $1 Million.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. I appreciate everybody, and I hope this was valuable. I'll see you guys at the top. Peace.